All right. Hello, everyone. I know we're just a tiny bit behind, but it would not be a live stream if we did have some type of technical issues today. I want to kick things off. I want to welcome Holly Lee. She is going to be our very first guest here at the Roundtable, and I am so excited to have her join, especially in the setting we are in this week. This week's been pretty rough, Holly. So give us a little bit of introduction about yourselves.
Thanks, Michael. I know that we've been in touch for a while. I'm really excited to be here and support your journey. I know you got some great skills, especially those who have a veteran background. Thank you so much for supporting our country, by the way. For those of you we're meeting for the first time, my name is Holly. I am a former Amazonian, a Google. I work for Meta and Microsoft as well. And my goal is to really integrate all of my recruiting, tech and non-tech interview training into providing resources and coaching to help all of you, especially those who's been recently laid off, just to try to help you move forward and transition so that you can get your feet back into the door.
Awesome. And that's perfect. This week really hit a ton of people hard. Amazon, 18,000 people, 10,000 people across Microsoft Corporation, plus their gaming industries, 343 Industries, and a lot of their other projects they had. So as of yesterday, there are 28,000 new people that are trying to find their next position. And really, that's what I want to try to focus on today is how to market yourself, how to make sure to brand yourself, and then how to get prepared for that next interview. Because a lot of those people that are getting out of those positions, they're going to want to jump right back in at some point after their severance is done. And where do they go? Do they look at those name type companies, or do they look at some of the smaller ones? And kind of want to get your thoughts on that. I know you've seen this before in the past. What are some of the transitions that, a lot of these people are going to have to go into? And then kind of a follow-up question to that. What about everyone else who's now trying to get into one of those main, right? Now you've got all this, it's congested right now. 28,000 people just laid off, plus all the brand new people that are trying to get in.
I want to quickly share 2009 recession. It was really bad. It took 10 years to bounce back. That was the time where I was excited. I got a job at Microsoft. Now, mind you, I was already at one of the top company and I couldn't get a job anywhere else being a recruiting manager at the time. And when I did get a job, I kept on getting laid off. There's a reason why I wanted to share that story with you guys, because even though you're affected by the layoff, you're about to, or even if you're not, you're afraid that you'll be next. When you are looking for the next job, do not just look for another paycheck because you're going to get cut. I did that. I was desperate. I had a condo to pay for, almost foreclosure. In fact, back in 2009, it was really ugly. I just took whatever that came to me, not realizing that maybe I should pause for a second and take a look at my skills. My skill was in recruiting, building team across the world, building what kind of team? All tech, SDED, networking engineer, so on and so forth, right? I finally got smart and told myself, well, what if I were to create a project management or run my own business? I tried to run my own business even over 10 years ago, over decades ago. So I did. So look at your own core skills, look at your vision and value. What exactly do you guys want to do? I know that we all got bills to pay because I've been there myself, but it's really important for you to know what you want to do next and not, I have to pay the bill. If you got to go pay the bill, I hate to say this, go drive Uber, deliver Instacart. Don't underestimate because they do make a lot of money, because I know a lot of people who does that. But don't join like a startup, another company just to get laid off again and again and again, because I've done it. No shame. That was me. That was me in 2009. But here's the thing. About 5 months after that, Google hired. 5 months after that hot mess in 2009, Google hired me. And that's how I got my foot back into the door. So why I'm sharing that story with you guys is I know it's a little dark right now for all of us, but don't feel that the hope isn't there. Take this time to evaluate what your true brand really is and what else are you good at. That's probably the first thing I would advise everybody. Do not get so desperate, because your employer, when they want to interview you, they can hear it from your tone. They can see it in your CV, your resume, LinkedIn profile, and they know that you're probably not a fit because someone else that has even similar experiences is much more calm than you are.
Absolutely love that advice. If the desperate times doesn't actually mean desperate measures, just constantly applying for a job. So when you're looking at how to make sure to brand yourself correctly and reach out, this is something that I teach all the time when I do my one-on-one LinkedIn profile reviews. I tell them, make sure that you're branding yourself correctly and you're connecting with people on LinkedIn with those companies you're trying to get into. I really loved what you said earlier about not being so desperate just to jump right back in, you got to make sure to be prepared and be ready. What are some of the things that you personally would do in this recession right now to make sure that you're prepared in the next month, 2 months, 3 months? What are the first set of steps that you?
That's a great question, Michael. So how I position myself in this recession. So this is what you're going to do. You need to start setting your goal planning. You can't just go from 0 to 100, and you have to be very specific on your goal. I love what Michael just said about LinkedIn. I've been talking about LinkedIn until the cow comes home since Q4 of last year, and no one cares about that. And every time when people hear like resume or LinkedIn, our algorithm dropped to 0 degree. But what you guys don't realize is your brand. So you're basically telling us, I don't care about my brand. So I'm not going to watch unless it's telling me how to get a job at Amazon or Google. I'm not going to watch. Well, we're trying to teach you how to walk before you run, and be very cautious in evaluating your own brand. What would you hire yourself for? Don't just listen and do it, but evaluate yourself. I talk about this in almost every single week in my live stream show, that when an employer evaluate you, they're never going to evaluate you for just that one role. What else are you good at? So that's what I would do.
There's something that you said in there that I want to make sure and bring to light for everyone watching right now. You said walk before you run. Man, that is so crucial and key. And I'm going to give you my example. Yes, I do come from a military background. I was very lucky though. I had someone who 3 years ago now who told me, get on LinkedIn and start. Just start. Doesn't matter what it is, just start.
Yep.
And 3 years is how long it took me to get to the point where I am right now. Able to do live streams, having original content, posting on a regular basis. And that's 3 years worth of work and effort. And I hate to say it, and I'm going to give a little tough love right now for those of you who are watching. And I know that right now it's kind of a rough time, but if you're just getting laid off from a position, you're just getting back on LinkedIn, you haven't posted in 3, 6, 9 months, your profile isn't up to date, you haven't shown anything to really entice those recruiters and hiring managers, that walk is going to have to happen before you run. Now, there are some ways that you can kind of cheat the system and get yourself more visible, but the authenticity is not going to be there. You will not have that organic relationship with other people in different companies right off the bat, unless you have that physical, personal relationship with someone just because you've met up with them. You won't have the digital, personal relationship. And there is a very, very big difference. COVID taught us a lot of things when it comes to the digital world. We were very connected person to person. Digitally, we were not. You have to build a network, and you have to build that organic relationship now to give you insurance for the future. And for those of you that are getting hit right now, if you have that personal insurance, you've developed those relationships with other people at different companies, letting them know what you've achieved, engaging with their content. Don't just get on LinkedIn and ask for stuff. That is 100% a turn off. Hey, I'm new and I need your help with X.
Please get a job for me. Can you please give me a referral to Amazon? Yes.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Holly, how often do you get, hey, Holly, I love your content. Can you help me with my resume?
I would say prior to the layoff, every single night, I spend 2 to 3 hours every night. I'm talking about daily, at least 5 days. It would be hundreds of messages every single night. Now, because of the layoff, I'm getting a different type of verbiage. Can you please get me a job? Can you please review my resume and all of that? Very often, the thing is that having someone to review your resume, it's not the same thing as you pouring your heart into it. When you reach out to people, you just don't automatically ask them for something. First of all, they don't know you. It's the art of networking and building long-term relationship. You better bet we know who you are. Even though we got hundreds or thousands of messages, we remember closeness, connections, those connections that we are going to build long-term. Don't just sit back and relax. Follow people that you admired or that you wanted to be in the industry, in the position title they're in and all that. LinkedIn is such a beast because LinkedIn is not fake, but LinkedIn is real. For instance, if I comment on Michael's post, it will go out to all of my network and say, hey, by the way, Holly Lee liked this post, or comment on this post. So you want to be able to do that while you're building your personal branding, because in return, you can learn a lot from those network that you're connecting with. And if you all have a background similar to like Michael, for example, I would say it's so easy to know who he's connecting with by looking at your newsfeed. Don't just put your LinkedIn profile together. Really evaluate and learn from other people and integrate those buzzwords into your own branding.
That's true. As I've been diving into the YouTube world, trying to do these live events, I found a lot of things that are really interesting when it comes to content creation. Is content creators really just kind of feed off each other. They see what's trending, they make their own post about it, and that is 100% original content, but coming up with something unique to you. And And that will set you out of the sea of other people that are out there trying to do the exact same thing. How you brand yourself. Being original and being yourself is not that hard. It takes a mindset to just start. That is the hardest part. There's no better time to start than today. There's no reason for you to not have a complete profile and then not make connections. You're stunting yourself. Start making those connections. Yeah, your profile may not be the best in the world, but as long as you send a connection request and you make it a personalized connection request, send it out. Connect with people. Don't just ask for anything. Don't just ask for stuff.
Be intentional to people.
Be intentional, right? Absolutely. Be intentional. Be personal, right? Imagine you're walking down the street and there's 100 people coming towards you. You have your resume in hand and you just start handing them out. What do you typically do on the side of the street when people hand you stuff? You throw it away. I'm not even going to worry about it. That is what you're doing on LinkedIn when you're sending messages out like that. That is the comparison. You have to be deliberate about connecting with someone first before you just start handing stuff out to them and expecting something in return. You've got to know your audience. And to know your audience, you've got to build that personal connection. You've got to know your connection before you just start asking for stuff. Let's talk about how to do it, right? We talked about the why. We've talked about resources you can use. Let's talk about some action items, what to do to get you started. So my first recommendation is going to be this. Get on LinkedIn. You have to find where you want to work, and not where as in a company, where as in geographic location. Yes, there is remote work. Yes, 100% there is hybrid work, but generally speaking, remote positions are not that common anymore. Let's be real. They don't exist as much as they did during COVID because companies are going back to brick and mortar stores, brick and mortar locations, and they want you in the office. They're not offering those remote positions. Everyone can whine and cry about it all day, but I'm just being real with you. Remote doesn't exist as much as it did before. You may have to look at a actual physical location to start going to, which means you need to start looking and scouting yourself for those positions and those various companies. Easiest way to do that, you go to LinkedIn, you go to the search bar, you search the job position you want to get into. From there at the top, you have 13 individual searchable areas that you can focus your search in. Change the location, change it to your closest geographic location, whether that's the closest major city, metropolitan area, capital. Look at those areas and start looking for the jobs that are available in those areas. That's going to give you an idea of what companies are looking for. Start looking at those jobs, figuring out what they want. At that point, there's an amazing resource. It is a career transition tool that LinkedIn has put together itself. Once you've got yourself to the point where you understand the job market in your specific area, then you need to start connecting with people. Easiest way to do this, again, we're going to go to LinkedIn, we're going to go to the search bar. You're going to type that job position that you've done some research on already, so you have a list of all those jobs. Now you're going to go to that job title, add it into the search bar, and you're going to change that search field instead of jobs into people. That is going to show you everyone who has that job title. LinkedIn's kind of weird. It's built a little different, but it searches the headline, the about section, the experience section, and skills. Those are the 4 primary areas that LinkedIn searches. You will find someone by doing that. Once you've found that person, find something that is a touch point. And a touch point is simply this. It's something that you have in common with the person already. That could be a prior school, it could be a prior company you've both worked at. For all the military members that are out there, search all of the different branches of service because you have the military in common. For everyone who's just trying to get into the IT world, if they're in the same industry as you, send a connection request. Personalize it. You have 300 characters worth of wording that you can put together, and it's simple. Here's how to do it. You're not asking for anything other than to join their network. 2, you have a touch point, which means you have something in common with the person, and that instant commonality between the two of you will allow you the ability to connect with them because they see that you can provide some type of value to their network instead of just being a leech. Once you start making those connections, then you can start growing your network organically. Ask them to talk about themselves. Let's be real. There are different types of personalities in the world. You have introverts, you have extroverts. Most of the time, though, people do like talking about themselves. A very easy segue that I use whenever I connect with people is, hey, thank you so much for connecting with me. I'd love to hear about what you do as a whatever a professional. It's very simple. You're not asking for a video call. You're not asking for a chat. You're just asking them to give you a quick, hey, what do you do? Very simple. That starts the conversation going. Once you have the conversation going, it's just like talking with someone at a coffee shop. Just talk. Be natural about it. Later on, then you can start asking the harder questions. Hey, I'd love to hear about more of the positions that you have at your company, but that's way later down the road. That's not right at the very beginning. It's a turnoff. Nobody wants that. They want to build an organic relationship with you just as if you were trying to meet a brand new friend. That would be my first action. Do some research on yourself. Do some research in the job industry for your area. Start connecting with people. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Holly. What would be action item?
I want to recommend 2 resources for you guys. So number 1, Wall Street Journal and TechCrunch. Wall Street Journal has been doing a lot of update. Whatever that is on like Amazon's webpage or Salesforce or Twitter and any kind of layoff, it's all there. So why waste your effort into going every single company? Just go to one source to save time. I'm all about being effective and efficient. Okay. The second thing is, as you're looking at the 2 websites that I just talked about, there's a lot of companies' name on there. It gives you a lot of statistics. For instance, I had a video that went out yesterday that talks about like Meta, for example, how many employees they have, 90,000. Layoff, it talks about, I believe they laid off 12% of the workforce. So you want all of those data. What does that tell you? That tells you probably to not focus all of your energy on the FANG or the maintain companies and look at the middle tier. Okay. My thought process is I want to be logical and very analytical. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket. Lately, you've been hearing a lot about the Amazon layoff because it's Amazon. Amazon is like, it hits the SEO algorithm. Everyone want to bombard that. But I do believe that there are groups within all of those companies who are still cautiously looking for the best candidate. I know we talk a lot about LinkedIn profiling and networking connection. Do not apply to jobs. Network and allow your future employers to get to know you. In fact, I don't even want to put my effort on recruiters because those recruiters are also getting laid off. Okay. Network with potential hiring leader, because you can see from the LinkedIn profile what company they're working in and with the same industry, right? I would first look at the resources that gives me an update of the layoffs around the world. That means you should spend less time with those companies. Like Twitter, I'm not saying anything negative about any employer specifically. Twitter lay off 50% of their workforce. So I probably would not look at that because that's a really high number. I would look at ones who are getting laid off maybe 15% and under and see where else your skill can fit, because you can tell when there's job posting out there. But really get to know who are the authority and decision maker on LinkedIn and follow them. When I say follow them, I don't mean reach out to them and figure out where they live. You can tell where they hang out, you know, who they comment, give them a thumbs up, because trust me, people know when you give them respect and acknowledge them, because the voice of having loyal follower is really powerful. They don't have to be a content creator, right? I know all of my community. I know every single person on LinkedIn and throughout social media, because you should pay attention. That's building long-term relationship.
Absolutely. And I want to highlight, you said don't go after those FANGs and maintain companies. Really look at those middle tier companies. I don't think startups are really safe right now either. Honestly, startups are kind of dangerous right now. A startup is either really good and they're hot and they're launching off to the moon, or they're going to die on the vine right there on the spot.
Because, you know, investors are holding back. They're not getting fundings for the next series.
Right, exactly. They don't want to put in money and lose an entire quarter's worth of earnings on a startup right now. When you're doing that job search, when you're doing research, don't just focus on the shiny. And the shiny is FANG, Matang, those companies. Look at some of the ones you've never heard of before and then do some research. Go to that company's webpage if they have one and figure out what they do and figure out where they sit. You can go to LinkedIn. You can take a look at the data analytics to see what their company's size is and their general overalls plus and minus when it comes to their hiring and firing. If you can see a very steady but very slow growth, that's a great company because they are growing at a consistent rate and they are not having to do huge layoffs every single quarter because the profit margins just aren't there and they've got to find overhead to save.
I was going to say that it is true because I've got quite a few middle tier, I don't want to say startup, but they're global. So if you guys are going to interview with anyone or respond to an employer, the first thing you should do is research a company to death. Where are those companies located at? That's just personal, take it however it resonates. I feel more comfortable if I'm interviewing with an employer that has other locations that's telling me that they're doing well. And one of the very first questions I would ask, like the hiring manager specifically, is how profitable that company is. I'm not talking about the public company. I'm talking about the one that are private, like middle tier. I'm so glad you talk about startup, Michael, because I literally talk about this on Tuesday stream. For those who have seed funding, forget it. Seed funding, series A, B, and C, forget it, okay? Because you know they're not getting any fundings. You could probably last for about 3 to 6 months. In a startup environment, you'd be lucky to last for 1 year unless that company is super profitable because you're not the only employee. That's what I mean by middle tier. In a healthy company, I would say at least a couple hundred or a couple thousand employee, and that's globally or at least domestically, multiple locations. So you gotta ask all the right questions before you apply yourself. If you don't have a job, you got bills to pay, especially all of those who are single parents or head of household, yeah, you're gonna take a job because you got bills to pay. But if you're gonna leave a job and thinking that you're going to get laid off, I would not recommend that. I would stay put, get a good severance package, negotiate my severance, and then take my time to look for another venture, because you don't want to be someone who hops and hops and hops and hops because the employer can see that you are desperate to pay the bills and not really interested in the company or what you're being hired for.
And one of the things that I get the most is job history employment. They see that you have had 5, 6, 7, 8 jobs, and you are someone that job jumps on a regular basis. People that are in those like hiring managers, recruiter positions, they can see that pretty easily.
If I have 100 resume in front of me and then I have 90% who bounce all over the places during the recession and that 10% is very steady, I would immediately illuminate that. I'm going to tell you guys an insider secret with how recruiters work because I actually trained them. I've had a lot of teams in my career, and generally we don't look at a resume or LinkedIn profile more than about 30 seconds. No one looks at a resume for a minute, at least for me, okay? Because it's very easy. You see their employment history, if they have a college degree, what position title, and boom, you either make the decision to reach out to them or not. The one tip that I really want to give, and these are real data, I have a lot of folks, even from my own member, who says, Holly, you know what? I don't know. I'm about to get laid off, but I don't know if I can take a contract or consulting job. I just don't want to job hop with this conversation, job hop over and over again. What if I get laid off? Here's what I would advise you guys to do. And that's exactly what I've done back in 2009 when it was really ugly. I went and I got a tax ID for my own independent business. And I basically took contract gig to pay the bills and in hopes that I will go full time. This is like back in the much younger days. So I would highly encourage, if you are going to be contracted or work with employer agency, whatever that is, I would create, for instance, on your LinkedIn profile and resume, I would say independent consultant. Right now, my business is Holly Lee and Associates, Inc. It's been like that forever. Even if I were to work for an employer, I want to go through my own business. You could do that until the market bounce back or until an employer convert you in from contract to full-time or permanent employee when the market's coming back around. That way, it doesn't look like you're bouncing from job to job. You don't need to. So rather than saying that I've changed 10 jobs this year, simply just say I am, John Doe Consulting. I'm just whatever you want to call yourself. Underneath, you can list your clients. So it's on the big picture, it seems like you have a lot of experiences and exposure to the different industry. That's actually going to help you with your personal branding than to say, I work for like ABC company, EFG company. I'm like, wow, why is this person bouncing every month? Wait, there's a big gap here. But if you're running your own show, there is no gap.
No, that's awesome advice. That I didn't even think about doing that as an independent consultant. That is solid right there. That's perfect. What are some last minute things that you would give, things that you want to make sure everyone knows prior to getting off this stream here today?
For me personally, I would say focus on self-awareness and your confidence level and where you are. The most important thing is that if you are not self-aware of what is it that you want and you're like this, you're shaking, you're letting your anxiety take the best part of you, and it is not a good time to connect with any human being at all. Piggyback with what you just said, work on your personal branding first. In fact, I talk about this in AWS Women in Tech as a speaker. It's personal branding, guys. The topic is how do I land job with Fang employer? I talk about personal branding. Don't spend your money in hiring coaches because they ain't you. They don't know anything about insurance industry. I don't know anything about insurance industry, but I know how to build your profile. So does a lot of the folks. And there's a lot of free stuff on YouTube, on Google, and whatnot. Put the effort in yourself first. If you guys are not willing to put the effort, how are you going to communicate with your future network person who finally says, okay, I'm ready to jump on a call with you. I want to get to know you, Michael. And you're looking at this call with whomever your networking person is. Oh my God, I'm so nervous. I don't know what to say to this person. What kind of question would they be asking me? Well, because you got no brand, because you didn't spend that time in fixing your profile. You don't even know what your ROI is or your added value is. That's a no. You're not ready to network yet. Fix your own personal brand, because as soon as you guys do that, it will help you boost up your confidence.
Absolutely. Future-proofing yourself and making sure that you're ready. And for all of you that are watching that have a job right now, the best time to network is when you're not trying to find a job. Closing thoughts. I wanted to highlight, you need to make sure to have your LinkedIn profile ready to go. Future-proof yourself now. If you have a job that you're in right now, that doesn't mean you're going to have a job tomorrow. That means you need to make sure to be job ready and network with people today. The best time to network is when you don't have to have a job. But if you already have a position, if you're already in a job, you're connecting because you're trying to connect with other professionals in the field. If you're just starting out, let them know, hey, I'm just starting out my professional journey. I'd love to add you to my network to see more of your content. That is an easy personalized invitation that you can use every single time. I'd love to join your professional network and see more of your stuff. Building that network early and continuing on your journey to network is going to pay dividends in the future. You're not going to see it right off the bat. It's going to take you time, and it is absolutely 100% worth it.